name is Deborah Ramsay. I'm the Associate Administrator at St. Joseph Mercy Hospital, and I'm your Mistress of Ceremonies. Thank you. Your Excellency, First Lady, Mrs. Sandra Granger, Bishop Francis Allen, distinguished members of the head table, and I will call your names individually, distinguished members of the private and public sector, fellow executives of hospitals, gracious sisters of mercy, and distinguished members of the Catholic community, members of the Board of Directors of Mercy Hospital Incorporated, auxiliary, staff, doctors, and friends of Mercy Hospital and Mercy Resident Care, distinguished special invitees all. Welcome to this formal opening of Mercy Resident Care, a home away from home for our elderly. Today marks the culmination of 2 years of planning and uprooting our dear Sisters of Mercy, who have graciously permitted us to be here in this building. Indeed, it is a pleasure to be surrounded by such ambience as we lovingly care for our elderly in their twilight years. I would now like to call on Ms. Helen Brauman, the interim CEO of Mercy Hospital, to give a formal welcome. Ms. Brauman.
Her Excellency, Mrs. Sandra Granger, First Lady of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, Your Lordship, Bishop Francis Allen, members of the Catholic community, distinguished members of the corporate community, special invitees, members of the board, members of the auxiliary, management, and the staff of St. Joseph Mercy Hospital, good afternoon, and welcome to the formal opening of the Mercy Resident Care Facility. We are ever grateful that you took the time out of your busy schedule to be with us on this special afternoon. The Mercy Resident Care Facility has been a dream in the making for a number of years. It all started roughly about 20 years ago when Mr. Sewar, a surgeon, went to the then administrator to ask for a place for his patients to rest after surgery so that the relatives can prepare for them to go home. The hospital then prepared an area for persons to rest and recover after surgery. This went on for a number of years and then it closed. Soon after, requests came to the hospital from elderly persons who had no children or family for a place to live. Persons were put in private rooms and in the wards among the patients. In 2013, our ward was identified to put the residents. We soon realized that this was not ideal, as we wanted to create a place that was more homely for the residents. As luck would have it, a place was identified and renovated, and a Mercy Resident Care Facility was constructed, and the residents who were then in the hospital moved over in November 2016. I will not go into too many details on what was needed to be done to bring the wonderful facility realization and the many persons involved. I will leave that story to Mr. CARLTON, JOAO, the chairman of the board of directors. This is not only a dream for the hospital, but a dream come true for me. Because when I did my master's, I did a thesis, a business plan for construction of a 50-bed Mercy Resident Care Facility. While the facility is not a 50-bed facility, but a 33-bed, a number of the ideas were taken into consideration and adopted. I feel very proud of that. This is a much-needed facility in Guyana, and it could not be timelier, as the focus at this time in Guyana is on the elderly and their needs and the setting of standards for facilities that will take care of the elderly. I stand here in front of you quite proud of our beautiful facility, and if you permit me to boast and say that we have set the bar high for such a facility as we continue the tradition of quality care and service that St. Joseph Mercy Hospital is renowned for. We are not just going to offer a facility for the elderly to live, but we are also going to be offering soon daycare services for the elderly, where they can come and spend the day while their family is at work and then go home at night, and short-term stay for the time when the family goes on vacation and need a place for the elderly to be. So just before I close, I wish to say we are quite honored to have Her Excellency, Mrs. Sandra Granger, here today, and I thank you for agreeing to give the key address today. It is much appreciated by us all here at St. Joseph Mercy Hospital. I know for the First Lady, Mrs. Sandra Granger, it is important that we honor and take care of the elderly. St. Joseph Mercy Hospital is certainly doing its part. I stand very proud about that. So once again, I welcome you and I thank you all for being here.
Thank you very much, Helen. I now invite our chairman of the board, Mr. CARLTON, JOAO, to give a brief background and remarks. CARLTON.
Thank you, Debbie. Your Excellency, First Lady of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, Mrs. Sandra Granger, Bishop Francis, Sister Julie Matthews, and the Sisters of Mercy, members of the Catholic clergy, and sisters with us today, especially Sister Marie Harper, who I see here, has been much supportive of this project from its inception, members of the St. Joseph Mercy Hospital Board, members of the Mercy Auxiliary, donors, special invitees, management, doctors, and the staff of St. Joseph Mercy Hospital, friends all, good afternoon. Today we formally commission the fruits of a dream that has been in the making for the last 4 years. My role today is a simple one. I will share that dream and how that dream came to life in the form of the Mercy Resident Care Home before you. The Sisters of Mercy have given that the charisma of the St. Joseph Mercy Hospital, we focus on 3 areas: medical outreach to the poor, HIV/AIDS treatment, and resident care for the elderly. Today our focus is on one of those areas, resident care. St. Joseph Mercy Hospital has had the privilege of providing a resident care ministry since the mid-1980s to the people of Guyana. It started when persons needed a place to convalesce after surgery, and soon it evolved into a dedicated space for elderly persons to stay. This lasted only a few years, and then it dwindled to only 1 person in that resident care. Soon after it stopped, persons began to make inquiries, and in response to an increasing call, residents were received and were housed in private and semi-private rooms among the patients within the various wards in the main hospital in Kingston. In 2013, as we renovated after the fire, dedicated space was identified for the 15 residents living in the hospital at that time. However, by 2014, the ward allocated at the Mercy Hospital became totally inadequate for persons to live there in any form of comfort. The ward was built for a short stay by those who were sick, but not for those in long-term resident care. There was simply no space for privacy, dining, recreation, or any other activities. The residents were housed in a hospital environment. Recognizing the shortfall in this service, our board and management started having discussions on the need to build a specialized resident care facility. The thinking initially was to build a facility on the main compound of the hospital. After all, there's lots of space. Then, as God would have it, one day, a gentleman by the name of Mr. Christopher Finance was passing by Lot 3 Pere Street. The Sisters of Mercy Convent, previously housed at this location, I had a thought that the building was ideal to house the Mercy Resident Care Facility. There were 2 sisters living here in the convent at the time, so if you want to know who to blame. We considered the proposal, and the board made a pitch to Sister Julie about the idea. After considerations by the sister, the green light was given, and soon after the hospital had a property to renovate into the customized requirements of the Mercy Resident Care under a formal agreement with the sisters. We moved quickly, and a team comprised of board and management members met and did a walkthrough of the building, where it was decided, among other things, that at a minimum, the scope would include the need to build up the compound as it flooded heavily. This compound is noted for flooding. The extension of the building, we almost doubled the square footage as what was existing before, and the inclusion of all safety features as are necessary in the design of a resident care. The renovation started in November 2015 and were completed by October 2016. As Helen mentioned, we moved in November 2016. What stands before you today is a facility capable of comfortably housing 33 residents, comprising 2 4-bed wards, 4 5-bed wards, 3 private rooms, and 2 private self-contained rooms. Hot and cold water within the bathroom facilities is provided. Open plan living and dining areas, alarm system and CCTV camera system for 24-hour monitoring. A bedside nurse call system is provided. Each resident has a storage for personal items. A courtyard is also provided for the residents to go outside to relax, and we are gathered in that space today. The residence also houses a kitchen and laundry service. However, the majority of the catering and laundry is done at the main hospital campus in Kingston. which is only 5 minutes away. The cost of the project was approximately $97 billion. We're grateful for the support of the many persons and donors who made this home a reality. There was a lot of support locally and from overseas towards the construction of the Mercy Resident Care Facility. And as such, please permit me to thank as many persons in support and donors as I can, beginning with the Sisters of Mercy and Sister Mary Kelly, without whose prayers and support, much of what we do would not be possible. The Mercy Auxiliary, for the raising of the funds for the facility, Mr. Robin Mafood and Mr. Paul Chanasu of Food for the Poor. Mr. Mafood took time out to visit here personally and offered much assistance. And Mr. Ken Vincent of the local office of Food for the Poor for the equipment and items supplied. Guyana Christian Charities for donations, bed sheets, equipment and items. Mr. and Mrs. Reva Harmon of Rent a Tent. Sir Kiffin Simpson, Miss Elizabeth Abdul, Mr. and Mrs. Satar Gafour of Gafson's Industries Limited, Mr. Richard Sami, General Manager, Republic Bank, Mr. Andrew Mendez, Managing Director, Farfana Mendez, and Mrs. June Mendez, Mr. Errol Campbell, Mr. Ronald F.D.C. Harford, Chairman of the Republic Bank of Trinidad, Mr. David Christopherson, Mr. Joe and Mrs. Ann Castanero, and committee who organized an annual Christmas brunch in Canada in aid of this project. Over the last 2 years, the Finance family in Canada has staged 2 sponsored bike rides, the proceeds of which amount to about $2 million were donated to this project. Mr. Christopher Finance and Mrs. Desiree Finance and John Finance Limited, and last but by no way least, Mr. Clifford Reese and Banks Daesh Limited for their continuous support. Your Excellency, Mr. Granger, friends, the construction was tedious, as we attempted a renovation within a fixed concrete frame with limitations on ceiling heights and flood mitigation requirements. The following companies and individuals contributed to the construction of the project. Dyrock Construction, the team of Alan and Robert, the primary contractors on the renovation and construction of the facility. Jerry Max and Infab for the steel work and the lift provided. ECI, building the generator enclosure and the installation of the generator. Wayne Mendonza, installation of cameras and alarm systems. Farfan and Mendez, the installation of the solar water heaters and the water pump system. Mrs. Anne Ragbier of Canada for the donation of the music system. David and Vanita Finance for landscaping of the courtyard we are in today. Dennis Dias and DD Signs for signage. And of course, the management, doctors, and staff of the St. Joseph Mercy Hospital who have supported unwaveringly and under whose responsibility this beautiful home now falls. To the board of directors of the hospital who have given freely of their time to bring this project to fruition, I also say thank you. There have been many more who along the way would have made a contribution in some shape or form. If I've missed a few, apologies, but thanks to all. This function today is to thank those who helped to make this home happen. It is our hope that any good that we do on earth will be rewarded later. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to quote Pope Francis, who gives us, and I quote, "A population that does not take care of the elderly, of children, and the young has no future, because it abuses both its memory and its promise." End quote. The Mercy Resident Care Home is ready and willing to provide a much-needed service for the elderly in Guyana. It will give the elderly a choice of where he or she would like to spend the latter years of his or her life, and offer family members the comfort of knowing that their elderly folk will be safe and well looked after in a facility much like home, the Mercy Resident Care Home. Thank you for coming today, and thanks for all that you do.
Thank you very much, Carlton. Indeed, it is a pleasure to be here. It's a wonderful location, and I think we are very proud to call this part of our Mercy collection of everything we offer to the public and people who need assistance from us. I would now like to welcome the President of the Sisters of Mercy Latin and South America, Sister Julie Matthews, who will offer us her remarks. Sister Julie.
Excellency, Mrs. Sandra Granger, First Lady, are the protocols observed. The constitutions of the Sisters of Mercy state that we must have reverence for the unique gift of each person, the young and the old, the well and the infirm. We, as Sisters of Mercy, believe that each person, and perhaps more especially the elderly and the infirm, has a unique gift to offer us and to offer our world. It is of little wonder that one day on the phone with the executive of the board, CARLTON, Chris, and Khalil at the back there, Chris almost unnoticeably said, "Sister, what about the old house you have at Pere Street? Do you think we can move the residents there?" At that time, we were less than satisfied with having our senior members of the society who have given their lives to Guyana spend their last days in a ward. This small seed was planted, and with the work of so many, and CARLTON mentioned most of them, the board, the staff, the finance family, not only Chris, but Auntie Des was there all the time with him, the Mercy Auxiliary, Food for the Poor, the business community. Because of that small seed, we now witness the fruits of their labor. The dream has become a reality. The old pink house was transformed. It is my hope that not only the building will be transformed, but this ministry to the elderly will also be one of transformation. We chose the name Mercy Resident Care. Two important words, mercy and care. Our foundress, Catherine Macaulay, always encouraged us to live the word mercy, from the Latin word misericordia. She said that we must bring our hearts to misery and suffering. We must not only care for the bodily and medical needs of our residents here, we must allow our hearts to be touched by each person so that we can connect with their hearts, bringing compassion, care, and sensitivity. This time in one's life, when he or she has to depend on another to have the most basic needs met, can be a time of vulnerability and humiliation. At Mercy Resident Care, we need to make each moment of encounter be one that respects the dignity of the person. Even in patients and residents that have dementia, we need to remember that there is a person inside of them, and we need to reach that person. So today, as we formally open our Mercy Resident Care, may we commit to opening our hearts to continue the healing ministry of Jesus. May this place where others may see as the end of life be filled with the fullness of life and joy. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Sister Julie. It's always such a pleasure to see you. I know how well traveled you are, and I know you probably just came back from somewhere because you're always traveling, but it's lovely to have you despite the fact that you might be jet lagged. We'd now like to pause for a short interlude of music by the young members of the St. John's BOSCO Steel Band. Thank you so much. You have a wonderful future ahead of you. Don't worry, you really do. Okay, I'd now like to ask Ms. Helen Brauman to introduce our keynote speaker right now. Could you kindly come to the podium, Helen?
Her Excellency, Mrs. Sandra Granger, is Guyana's 8th First Lady. Mrs. Granger was born in Georgetown, Guyana, and attended Sacred Heart Primary School and St. Joseph High School. She has 2 Bachelor of Arts degrees from the University of Guyana in English Literature and in Portuguese. Mrs. Granger also holds a Master of Arts degree in Brazilian Literature and a graduate certificate in Latin American Studies from the University of Pittsburgh, United States of America. Since becoming First Lady in 2015, Mrs. Granger has shown a keen interest in social development and has championed causes related to youth, women and children, entrepreneurs, the elderly, and Guyanese at large. The invaluable contribution our senior citizens have made to the development of Guyana can never be overstated. Speaking at the 22nd anniversary celebration of the SANRIC Senior Citizens Group in October 2016, Mrs. Granger said, and I quote, "It might not be known publicly, but each one of you would have made a contribution in some way, whether it was ensuring that your children and grandchildren grew up with some manners, you went out and you worked and did something to help your family, or you were always there to provide advice and a shoulder to lean on when your family and friends needed it. I am sure we can all relate to and agree with the First Lady's view. Ourselves have benefited from advice, guidance, and support of seniors throughout life's journey. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to now welcome to the podium Her Excellency, Mrs. Sandra Granger, First Lady of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, to deliver the key address.
Thank you very much, Helen. Thank you. Please be seated. And now I have to be very careful about the things I say because I was trying to remember when I had said what Helen said I did. Anyway, His Lordship, Bishop Francis Allen, Sister Julie Matthews, President, Sisters of Mercy Latin America and the Caribbean, Chairman and members of the Board of Directors of the St. Joseph Mercy Hospital, distinguished guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. I would first like to thank the administrator of the Mercy Hospital, Ms. Helen Brauman, for honoring me with the invitation to speak at the opening of this new senior residence facility here at Pere Street, Kitty. And I will keep the promise I made to her earlier today to be brief in my remarks. I would like to start with a quote from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 20. And I quote, "Wherefore by their fruits ye shall know them." Sister, I remembered my scripture knowledge, you see. Anyway, the residence, which is being officially opened here today, is yet another manifestation of the tradition of service for which the Sisters of Mercy are known. It is a tradition from which I and several members of my family have benefited over the years. Since, speaking for myself, I received my education at the primary and secondary levels, briefly at St. Joseph's Primary in Mabaruma, then at Sacred Heart, as was mentioned before, and then at St. Joseph's High School. I am happy to have known, during my formative years, Sister Manise, who was at Sacred Heart at that time, and Sister Celine and Sister Admirabilis, who taught at St. Joseph's while I was there. And to Sister Celine, I must record my gratitude for instilling in me not only a love of biology, but also a love of singing. And she put up with me, which was another major thing. So, Sister, thank you very much. But these nuns put up with a lot of skylarking that we were doing and instilled in us an education that was not only limited to the formal aspect, but true education, which was molding our characters. And so, sisters, I thank you for the role you have made in shaping my life and me. I am grateful to the sisters who helped me to learn the motto, to know, to love, to serve, which did not only apply to our spiritual life, but also to how we, the children under their care, conduct ourselves in the temporal world. In Guyana, the Sisters of Mercy have been active in education, health services, and taking care of the vulnerable, as demonstrated in the past before nationalization, through their schools, and currently in the Mercy Wings Vocational School in Sophia, where they also provide a child care service, the Mercy Hospital, the St. John BOSCO Orphanage, and we heard some of their talent, and their involvement in the care and counseling of girls who have been rescued from trafficking. The Sisters of Mercy have recognized the need of our seniors to live in comfort and with care. This is why they opened a hospice for seniors at the Mercy Hospital, where they receive the patients' medical care and were also able to establish bonds with other senior citizens. I can speak with certainty about the ladies because my own aunt spent her last months in the care of the staff of the Mercy Hospital hospice. And indeed, at one time, when she told me that her physical condition had improved so much so that she was walking to the bathroom and sitting on the veranda, I suggested, well, you can continue and you can return home soon. And she looked at me and she says, but I like the company. And that's the truth. So she was happy in her last days when she was not able to help herself. I can assure you that those ladies had a great time together, not only gossiping, but sharing a lot of jokes and bantering. So that the decision to outfit this property for the care and comfort of our seniors is but another manifestation of the Mercy tradition of service to the vulnerable and those in need. I have been privileged to tour this residence earlier this year, shortly after it was opened, and I recognize the care and attention which has gone into the outfitting of this facility for the care and comfort of our seniors, including painting the walls in a restful color, installing rails along the corridors, the provision of a friendly environment and a balanced diet, visits by doctors and psychiatrists, and communal areas for residents to meet and mingle, whether it is to have a meal or watch a movie, as Mr. Jung mentioned in his remarks. These are the little things that bring joy to the lives of our seniors. Their relatives and friends will be content knowing that their loved ones are receiving compassionate care in an environment in which their needs are met and their physical, psychological, and spiritual well-being is taken care of. One can only imagine the positive impact this environment bestows on those who are frail or losing their faculties or lacking a close relative to support them as age takes its toll on the physical framework in which we live. I know that much thought and deliberation has gone into the development of this residence, and I am privileged to be among you today as it is officially opened. I wish to record my congratulations to the Sisters of Mercy and the Board of Directors of the Mercy Hospital and all their supporters and those who gave of their time and money and presence to help to bring this dream of a senior care facility to fruition. So this will continue to provide the Mercy service to the people, and I thank you. Thank you, sir.
I would now like to proceed by inviting Her Excellency, Mrs. Sandra Granger, the First Lady, to unveil the plaque and the cutting of the ribbon declaring the resident care home open.
On behalf of the present residents, of whom I happen to be one, I wish to say how grateful I am that this body has been opened. Above all, I must say many thanks, a great debt of thanks to Her Excellency Sandra Granger for sparing us of our spare time to come and open this residence. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Basdio. I would now like to call on Nurse LESLYN Holder, the manager of the Mercy Resident Care, to move the vote of thanks. Nurse Holder.
Her Excellency, First Lady, Mrs. Sandra Granger, representative of the Ministry of Public Health, Sisters of Mercy, doctors of the St. Joseph Mercy Hospital, nurses, other members of the head table, special invitees, a pleasant good afternoon to you. I feel humbled that the opportunity is mine to deliver the vote of thanks. On behalf of the Chairman of the Board of Directors, Mr. CARLTON, JOAO, other members of the Board of Directors, the CEO of St. Joseph Mercy Hospital, Ms. Helen Browman, the entire administration of the St. Joseph Mercy Hospital, the Mercy Resident Care team, and the residents. I extend a heartfelt thank you to everyone present here today. Thank you all for the support we have received in the past few weeks organizing and planning for this auspicious event. Without your support and now your presence, this event would not have been possible. I wish to express a profuse thanks to our residents, the families and friends, for choosing us as their healthcare provider. And before I go any further, I want to say that we're extremely grateful to our First Lady, Mrs. Sandra Granger, who has taken time out of her busy schedule to have graced us with her presence and who have played a major role in this, our grand opening ceremony. To all our supporters, to Rent a Tent, to Banks DIH, to Saga City, the media team, to our catering team, to all present here today, we wish to express sincere thanks and gratitude for your support in making a huge contribution to this event. This is much appreciated. A special thank you to Mr. and Mrs. Finance and their family. There is no words to describe your support. Last but not least, I want to say a special thank you to the Mistress of Ceremony, our own Mrs. Ramsay, Associate Administrator of St. Joseph Mercy Hospital, for executing the program today with style and elegance. Ms. Ramsay, thank you. Once again, thank you one and all. Thank you all very much for being here.
Thank you so much, Nurse Holder. We have now come to the end of this beautiful opening ceremony. Thank you everyone for coming. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon.